Here's a little video for all you Mercruiser do-it-yourself mechanics out there. I was out on the water a few days ago and my fuel pump went out. I'd been having problems. If anybody would recognize that, it looks just like a standard GM mechanical fuel pump. With the exception of the marine versions of these fuel pumps, they have a bleed off. So if the diaphragm in there does go bad, the fuel will discharge through this port, through a hose, and connects to the carburetor. So you won't have any fuel dripping into your engine compartment, which could be a bad day. As you can see, first thing I noticed was this wear here. Tremendous amount of wear. I can't even push that down. I don't know how much pressure it's going to take. When I get my new one, I'll definitely compare. But it's very stiff, and I can even see a little bit of debris in that bleed off. I never saw any fluid in the line, but it did get discolored, so that might be a telltale sign. Between like 1991 and 96, GM stopped putting on the side of their engine blocks a provision for this mechanical fuel pump with the drive off the engine. So Mercruiser decided they would combine the fuel pump drive and the water pump drive into one convenient little package and run it off of a pulley. Here's your impeller. Here's the pump. You've probably seen these 100 times with the Bravo. So it's doing both things. Driving the water pump through this main shaft and driving the fuel pump, and it sets about just like that. You can picture it sitting down on the bottom, which will be the right side of the engine. So when I had the problem, I decided to go ahead and remove everything. I knew this had to come off. I could have just removed this, but it's so far down in the engine compartment, I really wanted to do a good inspection. And this pump, which you got to change every year or two, depending on where you live, I guess, and how much you use your boat, I wanted to do an inspection on this. So this is the impeller. It's rubber. It goes up in there, of course, completely up in there. You lubricate it when you first do it. But this pulses. It sits off to the side, so as this is spinning, the blades kind of pulse back and forth, which causes a suction and a blow, pressure side. So I'm real impressed with the fact that this bore is actually plastic, and if you don't hit a bunch of sandbars or anything, you're going to keep really any wear out of there. But what I like to look for is cracking in the vanes here, these blades. You can see there's starting to get a little bit of wear, but it's actually in darn good shape. Now I'm going to go ahead and replace everything just because I want to. But back to this drive system, I didn't realize how critical this thing is, but there's two bearings in here, and then there's of course a seal here, actually two seals, because one seals out oil and the other seals out the water from the pump side. You'll notice there's a drain. Actually, it's not a drain, it's a fill plug. Mercruiser used to put a drain down here, but it takes a little bit of oil in there, and you use outdrive oil, same oil that you gear lube that you put in your outdrive, and it keeps all this stuff in there lubricated, the bearings. And you can hear it's a little rumbly, but there's no play, very little side play. But what I noticed, as soon as I took it apart, was the grime and the grit that was in there. Now that should be nice and clean. So what has happened, this fuel pump, because it sits like this, probably has been leaking in the seals, dumping fuel into here. So when you're servicing your boat, every year you should be pulling that plug right there, sticking a little tube in there, maybe taking a hypodermic of some sort of a vacuum thing, or even just sucking on a long hose. and pull some of that oil out of there and smell it, because I could immediately smell what seemed to be fuel. Plus it was so thin. This has been sitting for a couple of days. I had to put some more oil in here to get this lubricated because it froze up. It was just like that, but evidently that was some fuel that dried out there over the past couple of days, and this darn thing froze up. So I put some oil in there to free it up. And what you see in here is a cam, and the cam drives and pushes down on this pump. There's the cam drive. And give it a spin here. You can see there's a high and low side. And what Mercruiser did was put a little sleeve over that. I don't know why. If you take a magnet, look at the play in that sleeve. Up and down. So it was ready to really probably just have a catastrophic event at some point in time. So I'm so happy in a way that my fuel pump went out, and you can see the wear that's in that and the rust. So I'm going to take it apart. These things are $900 if you were to purchase the whole thing. It comes with the pump, pulley, and everything. There's some aftermarket ones for a few hundred, but I don't trust the quality. You can't beat Mercruiser's original equipment. So I'm just going to take it apart and see if I can't rebuild it, because there's just two main bearings, and I'm going to buy a new shaft and a new idler in there, a little cam follower, what do you want to call that, sleeve, and put new seals in it, and it's going to be better than new. I should be able to do it for half of or less than half of what it would cost if I were to buy a brand new one. So we'll see how it goes. So the first thing I have to do is remove this pulley, and behind there's a circlip, and this whole shaft should slide out. Hopefully it'll slide out easily. I have a handy, this is called a power steering puller. I bought this at a swap meet probably like 15 years ago. It was only $6, so it's probably $12 now. But I've used it like one other time when I needed it, and I need it now, so I love tools. So it's pretty simple how it works. You get a couple little half clamshells, and the puller here, little pin, screws in, threads in. So this goes together like this. That goes around that shoulder. And then you have a retaining ring. Holds all that together. Turn that lead screw in there. So we're going to make it easy and use a little air pressure. Need something to hold the tool. Nice. So there you have it. There's a seal right about here, and I think this may be a washer. That has to come off, and underneath there I think is a clip, and once that clip is taken off, I should be able to maybe tap it out with a plastic hammer, a brass hammer, or put it in a press and press it out, and hopefully the bearings aren't too frozen. It will come out. So that's my next step. Okay, I got the housing all filled and sanded, and add a little bit of primer paint in there just to kind of build it up a little bit. I didn't like the fit, but I got it all just kind of lightly sanded in there. Beautiful surface, no more big pits. So it's going to be easy for the seal to ride in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is add this thread locker, and I'll put that on there with these trusty little paint brushes known as Q-tips. We'll put a coat around that and a coat around the inside here and press it in. I came up with a nice little press. It's basically a socket and an extension. So that'll pop that sucker right in there. And this end goes in first. And this thing's going to work out really nice just to be able to push that right into place. It seats right in this surface right there. So I decided it's probably going to be, I won't need a hydraulic press to do it, so I'm just going to use my drill press, and hopefully it'll work out real well. So let me get these things, get this one coated and start pressing them in. Okay, here we go. We got the seals pressed in. The drill press kind of helped as far as getting it lined up, but I did have to put it down on the ground and put a 2x4 here and hit it with a hammer. It came out real nice. The inside one, of course, came out real nice, and you can see that they're facing differently. You got the spring on this side because this whole cavity in here is going to be holding oil. That's what lubricates the bearings, and that's what lubricates the cam that works the fuel pump. So that came out real sweet, and you can see the spring there, that the lip's facing again this way. And on this one, the lip is facing outward, and that's to keep water from going in. And you'll notice I have this marked with grease. You're probably wondering why. It's because I don't want to forget to fill this cavity in between these two seals with grease. And that's what the instructions calls for. You can remember that had a lot of corrosion right there on that bore in between those two seals. So the grease is going to be just an added protection to keep water out and keep that from corroding again and affecting the seating surface of these seals. So I'm happy that's done. So the next step is to take the new shaft. You can see the old shaft. Well, here's the new shaft. And these bearings have to be pressed on to this seat right here. You can see this step is a little bit bigger. Well, the bearings have to be pressed onto that, both left and right. That has to be pressed on. I don't have a hydraulic press to do that, but I'm ready. I've got my tools I made to help slide on there and press those babies down. Do one side, flip it over, do the other. So I don't have a hydraulic press, but my neighbor does, so that's even better. So that's my next step, and we'll see you then. I was trying to get this seal out of this end, and there's really nowhere to put any kind of a bit, screwdriver, or anything, so what I'm going to do is just drill a hole into it, and that'll allow me to get a screwdriver, so some sort of a tool in here to pry that thing out. Well, there's the bearing. You can see it's just grimy, really dirty, just probably really wore out. Here's the circlip right here, so I'll remove that next. Hopefully it'll all come apart. Alright, let's see if we can tap it out. I'm going to use a brass hammer. I'm not really worried about tearing this up, but I'm going to use a brass anyhow so it won't mess up this steel. So let's see what happens. Looks like it's coming. Boom. And there it is. Looks like one bearing stayed in there, so I'll have to figure out how to get that out. Here's the shaft. Oh, and that bearing definitely is in bad shape. And there's the cam. You can see how worn that is. It's all corroded. Here's that silly follower. That thing's all bent out of shape. But anyway, I'll go ahead and replace this shaft. I had to take this over into the vise and chuck it up in the vise because that thing was pretty tight. And I used one of these little babies right here, little pry bar. Just hooked it in there and popped it just like that. I noticed there's actually two little seals out here. There's an O-ring. Looks like it fits in this outer surface here, this little recess. And you can see there's another seal in there and a bunch of corrosion. Ton of corrosion. So I'll clean all that up, and there's actually another seal up in there, right there. And that's for the oil, keep the oil in. This one was for the water side, the water pump, keep the water out, but I'm sure it wasn't working. Because part of that fluid that I found in there, I'm sure it was water. Anyway, I'm going to clean that up. Get that other seal out. I'm going to go ahead and try to drive that bearing out. Looks like I'm moving it already with this brass punch, so let me hit the race here. Oh, there it goes. Got it loose. Beautiful. Got it out. Now I have more of a direct shot. There we go. I damaged that pretty good, so I should have taken the bearing out first, then probably would have worked a little bit better. But anyway, I got it out. Got to remember these two seals Well, that's destroyed now, but these two seals are the same seal. And you have the spring and the inner and outer lip. Spring's missing because I hit it. But when you put it back together, just as a reminder, you want to drive this one in there first. And it comes right to that surface right there, that inner bearing surface. Flange there. And the spring goes in because it holds the oil back. And then when you install the number 2, it's going to go this way with the spring facing up because it's going to protect the housing from the water pump. So I have to clean all that up. I got my parts count. I know everything that I need, all the seals and little pieces, so I can go ahead and get everything on order and clean that up and start putting it back together.
What you jump for?
Sounds like home.
Yeah. You need degrees to roll this shit.
Yep, square. Not too square. Yeah, it's not bad.
Just center it up.
You're out.
Come on, Jack.
That's it, Ken.
Yeah. Oh, can't get it loose. Can't get it loose. You have to leave it in there.
Pretty easy. Pretty easy. Smooth.
Yeah. I ain't hardly even pulling.
He's over there like, oh.
Because I don't want it
You're
to pop.
gentle.
I don't want it to crack.
I appreciate that.
I make sure it's going in.
Yeah, they say it was a slick. I drove it out with a brass hammer.
Oh.
And
Just fell in. That's
it
great.
did? A little more though. You running out of RAM?
I mean, the housing is wore out a little bit.
Wait a minute. Is the bearing?
Huh? Yeah, it must be weed springs.
What do you think?
Huh?
Do it like that. Okay. Yeah, that bearing has to go down about to here, I think. There's a circlip.
You think? Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a circlip that holds it in. You got good eyes?
Well, I'm looking through here. It looks like you can see the silver. I don't think you're supposed to see the
You see
silver.
the, you see the
Yeah.
circlip?
Yeah. Or, well, you see the
There'll
bearing.
be a groove.
Yeah, it looks like you're almost to it.
Yep.
Another click or two.
Is it down, Ken?
Yeah,
Pop it all down.
I don't have my damn glasses.
Oh, well, you can look in there.
Yeah, you can see it on
No.
the other bearing.
Well, no, I'm looking for the circlip. The groove for the circlip.
Oh,
Let's take it out and take a look at it.
I'm starting to see the groove now.
Yeah, I can see
That's it, Ken. What do you think?
That's it. Now it looks like the groove.
I think my heart's palpitating.
We're playing with his motions over here.
That thing's $900. That's good. Let's hold it steady.
I got Parkinson's, you know. You got a mallet or just tap it in?
Yeah, but you got this expensive equipment. The nice thing about a press, it goes in level, you know, most of the time. Square over here. You square? Yep. You do it, Ken. It's cool.
That should be it.
Yep.